99X and the Morning X. Barnes and Leslie, the topic is AI and music. Fram, we've been talking about this ever since we've been back almost, but it is rapidly escalating.
Yeah, well, you got labels, record labels, suing the companies that do AI. It's out of control.
I want to play a piece of evidence for you, and this is from a guy named DJ AI. And he does, there's so many people doing, including me. But I'm not putting it out like to...
Yeah, you're doing little jingles.
Doing little
songs.
Bits. And this is taking Evanescence song and using AI to make Chester the singer of this song. So it's a Chester cover on AI.
So it's a Linkin Park Evanescence thing.
Yes. It's not the best one. I didn't want to pick the best one. I wanted to pick something that was kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
I think some of the singing seems weak at times. But, you listen, and then we're going to get into the danger or not of this type of technology when you get into music, because there's a lot of money on the line. So listen to this first. The guy that did it is DJ AI. This is Chester AI singing the Evanescence song. 99X, that is AI. If you missed the introduction to this segment, this is just an example we're showing of a fake Chester AI singing this Evanescence song. What did you think about the song, Fram?
I thought it was kind of weak. I've heard other, interpretations of other artists, but
I agree.
It was okay.
Parts of it were interesting. I thought it was a little too angry for AI Chester for me, but it's just an example of what you can do, and you could dial it up and make it happy, cheeky Chester if you wanted to, and be super cheesy. That's what's strange.
But overall, what's happening is very scary right now, especially for artists stealing their intellectual property.
Yeah, so we have an expert.
Yeah, this is a friend of mine, Charles Alexander. Charles is the CEO of a label services company called Launcher, but he's got a new company called Vinyl, which I'm going to let him explain because it does involve AI. Good morning, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is great to be here.
Thank you. What is Vinyl? Which, by the way, cool name. It's VINIL.
Yeah. So it stands for Voice Identity, Name, Image, and Likeness.
Nice.
And yeah. And so our whole entire thing is about consent and control, and compensation if people choose to be compensated for this stuff. But our entire sort of platform is based on this idea that anyone who creates artists, labels, any kind of person, radio, DJs, for example, if you wanted to create something, whether that be generated via AI or by what we call organic human means, then you should have control over whatever that asset is and be able to give people permission to use it.
So that's permission based. That's great.
Yeah.
What about just the ability... it's so dangerous to put this in the hands of people because you can take a hit song, and there absolutely is a breakdown of a hit song and why it's a hit. There's psychological things to it. There are, there's just a myriad of reasons why a song is a hit, which is why people, like humans, try to copy that. But when you put it in the machine can do it so much easier.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The thing is, the genie's out of the bottle, and so the question then becomes, as far as you can go, how can you restore trust, which is the number one thing, I think, that people can trust what they see, hear, experience, that it's coming from the source that authorized it. But the other thing is, how can you control and put yourself in a position to consent the use of that stuff? And as we've seen in the press lately, there's a lot of stuff that isn't being consented, and now, it looks like it's going to play itself out in the courts, right? So, I think we need a mechanism to restore trust and control and consent. Yeah.
So if Barnes and I wanted to clone ourselves to do the Morning X 2.0,
yes, please.
If we consent, then it's okay, and then we get compensated with your company?
Correct. Yeah. Or, we have a mechanism where you can license all that stuff. So, yeah.
But contracts and agreements are outdated. So if some radio station now did that and took their people and cloned them, probably their contract didn't even acknowledge AI. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's such a gray area, and we're just barely at the tip of it. I mean, this is like going to explode. Where do you see this space in, say, a year and in 3 years?
Yeah, there's so many tiers to this, or there's so many levels to this. So right now in the United States, we don't have a federal law that takes care of publicity rights under which this would fall, or even AI permissions and rights, right? There's still stuff in Congress that's working its way through the system, but everything now is a patchwork of laws across different states. And in the state of Tennessee, we have the Elvis Act. Depending on your perspective, is the greatest thing ever, or it's a challenge to some industries, right? So, yeah, I think it's going to work its way through the courts. There's going to have to be a federal legislative effort.
Has to
and
be.
I think there has to be. But that doesn't address what happens elsewhere, right? So in the EU, they have a law now that takes care of that. But in other countries, say in Asia and Africa, and even here in the United States, because we don't have a federal legislative effort, that's become law yet, it's the wild, wild west. And until that happens, we are at the mercy of whatever happens in the public space, and then having to sort of manage what happens after the fact. And right now, everything is whack-a-mole, right?
It is whack-a-mole,
So,
yeah.
totally.
It
It's
is.
whack-a-mole, as Jeremy Brooke, my partner, would say. So it's whack-a-mole. And until and unless we have a federal effort, and then hopefully an international effort to put some of those things behind some reasonable restraints, I think we have to sort of rely on our own cognizance to sort of manage that stuff.
We're speaking with Charles Alexander. He's the CEO of a startup called Vinyl, that really empowers individuals, of course, with your consent, for your likeness and more, and then a way to get compensated, which I think has to be the future. But you have a lot of Hollywood actors speaking up against this, like Samuel L. Jackson, Scarlett Johansson. I mean, this is just the beginning, especially with all the SAG-AFTRA fights that were happening. Mm-hmm. What's in it in the future for actors in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. So the good thing is SAG-AFTRA came together and made sure that there are protections in place for actors and everyone who's involved. But I think we need a similar effort in the music space and other creative spaces. Right now, again, what's happening is a piecemeal efforts. So the majors are suing some of these AI companies, right? But what do independents do? What do people who are not affiliated with the major label system do? Now, there's some other efforts with A2IM and things like that. But again, I think it's really important to remember that there needs to be a cohesive, united front in terms of how we're all going to manage this stuff.
You know what's weird about music, Charles and Leslie? I don't think I've told you this. We're around musicians all the time. Famous, not famous. We're around producers all the time. In the last 6 months, several of those types have been in here in the 99X studio, and I have pulled up Suno, which is one of the tools to make songs, and I've showed it to them. Not one of them had seen it before.
Oh, wow.
Which really shocked me. I was like, are you serious? They're like, oh my God, what?
That is shocking, actually.
These big rock stars. So either their people are not dripping it down to them yet. I mean, there's obviously good things with AI, and there's bad things with AI. Because think of all the health, AI implications that are positive that we're going to get. So it is the Wild West. Well, Charles, thank you for joining us, and we'll probably have to have you back again, because as this grows,
this is just the beginning.
It's like match on gas.
And Barnes, you like my Morning X 2.0 idea, it seemed like.
I do. So let's get that going. So we
can help.
We can just do it from the chair, laying on a chair with a cocktail. Charles, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
It's the Morning X.
What a pleasure.
Barnes and Leslie on 99X.